Hello, English teachers. Hey, are you looking for some fun, engaging conversation lessons for your ESL or IELTS students? If you are, then take a look at this lesson that I'm going to present to you. I specialize in designing conversation starters or conversation lessons for kids, adults, and high school students. And I have a store at the Teachers Pay Teachers website, and the name of my store is Speak Up English Talk Resources. And the lesson that I'm presenting to you today is about online shopping. And so that it talks about the return habits of people. All my lessons are theme based. So this one in particular is on daily life. So my lessons are designed in three separate parts. The first part is the introduction of some key vocabulary. So the key vocabulary is necessary because it's in preparation for the students to read an article in part two. So some examples of key vocabulary here. This is an example of the word fabric, right? And what does it mean, right? There's a definition here and also a sample sentence. And then there's a picture here that shows a winter jacket and it talks about, how this jacket the fabric is very soft. So, all my lessons come with beautiful graphics or visuals. So this is a way to get the student to better understand the lesson material because as the saying goes, a picture tells 1,000 words. And then my next example of key vocabulary I'll show you is on the word here, right? Flexible return policy, and it gives you a definition of this. And here you can actually you can explain it or you can share your experience with flexible return policy. Have you ever bought something from a big store and then you're not happy with the merchandise and you had to you ended up returning it? Explain your experience, and then you can talk about the sample sentence here, right? And you can ask your student for their experience as well. So after the introduction of key vocabulary, then a student is going to read a short article. And my articles are short and I break them down into a few pages. And each page's got like one or two or maybe three lines at most, because with online teaching, you don't want a student to read like a busy full page of essay because it's very busy on the eye, right? It's very hard for online teaching. So I like to break them down, break the paragraphs down, right? And put them into like every page has got like 3 to 4 lines at most. And then here, the article begins by talking about how, in today's day and age, right? Online shopping is very convenient for everyone because it's just a click away, right? And then afterwards, it talks about, because, when you purchase online, you don't get to really look at the product or inspect it. You might end up, buying the wrong thing. And then example is clothing is a return. The clothing, is something that gets returned a lot, right? Because you buy something and you touch it and the fabric does not feel right, or it just doesn't fit you well, right? And I have an example here, a funny picture of somebody who's wearing something that's too tight on him. Okay, and go on to talk about other products that gets returned a lot. Example like electronics or shoes or phone covers or screen protectors or charging cables. And so after that, when the student is done reading the article, then there is the part 3, which is a question and answer period. So I throw in a bunch of maybe 7 to 8 questions, and they're designed so that it saves you time, right? So you as a teacher, you don't need to come up with questions to start the conversation. You can just follow these questions. You can just use them, and then you can expand on those questions, right? But of course, if you have your own questions that you can come up with, by all means, throw them in. Okay, and also the way I do it is I don't like to, use this like a one-way thing, right? I don't like to just go ask a question. It's like, oh, question 1, have you ever returned something you bought online? And then wait for the answer. And then next, Question 2, what kind of clothing would you never buy online? And then after I hear the answer, I move on question 3, etc. I don't like to do that personally, because I believe that with conversation lessons, it really should be a two-way thing. This way you can build rapport with the student. So that's why I like to, share my experience with every question that's out there. And I find that, time flies by, quickly when you do this. And also the students enjoy this better, right? They have a better experience when they, listen to your experiences. Because you're dealing with like language learners, so they're bound to make, small mistakes or grammar mistakes. So I try not to overcorrect, and I usually just listen, right? And then I usually wait for them to finish speaking what they have to say, and then I give them like gentle reminders, or I just, let them like talk for like 5 or 6 sentences before I give a correction. And I find that some of the common mistakes here is they get confused with verb tenses. So, for example, if they say something like, "Oh, last Saturday I go shopping," and then I listen and I just remind them, "Well, it's last Saturday, right? That's in the past, so really it should be went instead of go." Okay, so that's one common mistake. Another common mistake is they get confused with like verb conjugates, right? So, for example, one of my students said, "Oh, my mom don't let me do something." And then I remind her, well, mom is really a she, right? That's a third person. So should it be my mom don't or my mom doesn't? And I just let her pick, right? I don't feed her the answer right away. So when I give her two options, so she can choose. And by doing it this way, then she can actually remember better and she actually learns from her own mistakes. Okay. So yeah, so all these questions are there and they're meant to be fun and engaging and of course they're thought provoking. And the beauty of my lessons is that you as a teacher have full control on the pacing. So if you find that your student is at a more advanced level, you can definitely extend on these questions and use like, bigger words or harder words, right? Whereas if you notice that your student is at the upper beginner level, then tone it down, right? Keep it simple, you know. Um, so if you're interested, go to my store. I do sell lessons, like I do sell individual lessons, and also they come in packages as well. And yeah, check out my store, and my link is in the bio. Okay, bye.